Fresh off his debate performance at the Reagan Library in California, New Jersey Governor Christie is now in Greenville, South Carolina, for his speech at the Heritage Action Take Back America Forum. And just moments ago, Christie getting off his flight. He's on his way to give his speech right now. But before his speech, Governor Christie's first stop, of course, going on the record. Governor Christie, nice to see you, sir.
Greta, glad to be back with you.
Glad that you finally made your flight. Okay, Governor, I know that for 7 or 8 years you fought terrorism here in the United States as a U.S. attorney in New Jersey. When the terrorism is here in the United States, you prosecute it. But tell me, if present, how are you going to keep the terrorism out of here? What are you going to do about ISIS over in Iraq and Syria?
Well, first off, it just sickens me, as I think it sickens most Americans, to see the beheading of Christians in the Middle East, the burning of the American flag in Iran. These are the things that as president you just can't stand for. And so I'm going to empower our allies on the ground in the Middle East, the Egyptians, the Saudis, the Emiratis, the Jordanians. We're going to arm them with the best arms. We're going to train them down to the battalion level. We're going to give them the kind of intelligence they need to be able to root out ISIS. And we're going to give them the air cover and support that they need to soften those targets for them to go in and bring the fight. That's what we need to do. We need to have those folks bring the fight. It's an existential threat, not only to us, but most immediately to the folks in the Middle East. They need an American president they know they can count on, will stand with them, arm them, and give them the intelligence and air power they need to be able to bring this fight to ISIS.
All right. Russia is moving fighter jets into Syria. And Secretary John Kerry says that they're going to have a U.S. military to Russian military discussions. But what about the fact that Russia is moving its fighter jets into Syria, seemingly to prop up Assad, who has apparently unleashed chemical weapons in Aleppo and Damascus at least, and we thought he was going to be gone. He's not.
Listen, this is the indication of the weakness and the timidity of the Obama-Clinton foreign policy. Remember, Hillary Clinton's called Assad a reformer. A reformer. This is not the person you want as commander-in-chief dealing with this issue. And now we have, as you said, Putin getting ready to move military assets into Syria. And he has said to the United States president, if you want to do something in Syria, check with me first. Well, this is when the president didn't enforce the red line in Syria, when he invited Putin in to become the enforcer in Syria. This is when we gave away America's leadership in that area of the country, of the world, rather. And as president, what I will do is reassert our leadership in that area of the world. It is inexcusable what the president did. We're now seeing the results not only with the Russian military presence in Syria, but we're also seeing it with hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees running for their lives and 250,000 Syrians already dead.
All right, those Syrian refugees you're referring to in Hungary. Hungary seems a long way away to many Americans, but are there real consequences for Americans having those refugees there economically, national security, and of course there is a humanitarian issue?
Of course. First is the humanitarian issue. This is awful, Greta, to have a situation where you have these folks running for their lives. Secondly, from a national security perspective, you're now creating a group of people who are displaced around the world, trying to be placed in all kinds of other countries around Western Europe and Eastern Europe. This is causing enormous tumult in those areas. And let's not forget the hundreds of thousands of refugees who have already been placed in Jordan, further creating issues for that regime. And so this failed President Obama rather, and Hillary Clinton policy is just caused enormous displacement in the region. And in a region that's already got big problems, this president's timidity and this Secretary of State's lack of vision have led us to have the situation we have now.
Okay, given that situation, if you're president of the United States today and this gets dumped in your lap, what are you going to do about it?
Well, first is you got to reestablish your relationships with our allies. None of our allies trust us anymore, Greta. And so we need to sit down and talk to our allies in Western Europe and our allies in the Middle East about how we deal with this in a collective way. America cannot do this on its own. We will lead, but we cannot do it by ourselves. So the first thing is to reestablish those relationships with our allies. Second is to be very clear to Russia and to Syria that we will not tolerate this type of conduct. And the American president has not done that. In fact, he's done the exact opposite. And, Greta, people say lots of things about me over the course of my career. The fact that I'm misunderstood has never been one of them. And so Vladimir Putin and Assad will understand exactly the limits of my patience. And if they violate the limits of my patience, they will see America respond.
Governor, this next week, the United States is getting very busy for the arrival of the Pope. He's going to be in New York, Washington, Philadelphia. If you got 10 minutes alone, just the two of you in a room, what would you want to talk to the Pope about?
I'd want to talk to the Pope about how we need to make sure that more people are living in freedom and liberty around the world, and that the greatest assurance of religious liberty is democracy and freedom in the world. And I'd want to try to enlist the Pope in being a partner with the United States to try to ensure that in those areas where liberty is being denied, that he is a strong and clear voice in favor of it. And secondly, that in areas where we need to have people be able to go in and be able to talk to folks about how important it is to have religious liberty, that the church would work with the United States to be able to do that. If I only had 10 minutes, that's what I would do. If I had half an hour, I'd probably give confession.
All right, Governor, well, you got about 2 minutes to get inside. I've been told I've kept you too long, and I know you just got off the flight. So thank you for joining us, and go on, get inside and give your speech, sir.
We'll go in. It's always great to be with you, Greta. Thanks, and everybody have a good weekend.